You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, certified life coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, we're discussing burning bright without burning out. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. I'm so happy that you are here today. And I want to start with a question. And I want you to actually sit with it for a second before I keep talking. When was the last time you performed at the top of your game and it actually felt good? Not just, God, I hit my numbers, I survived another month, but genuinely, beautifully, sustainably good, where you were firing on all cylinders and you still had enough left over for the things and the people that you love. If that feels like a distant memory, or honestly like something that you've never experienced at all, this episode is for you, and I get it. We just recently closed out our fiscal year. I hit over for the quarter and over for the year. And then, of course, on Monday, we began the most important fiscal year in the history of the company, right? And to be honest, if I'm truly being honest, the weekend felt more like, okay, let's recoup from the crazy versus let's take time to celebrate. And that's what we need to change. So today we are talking about the mental load. We're talking about burnout, and we are blowing up the idea that high performance has to feel like suffering. This is performance rewritten. Okay, so let's talk about the invisible weight. The data, which is probably not going to be super surprising to you, shows that right now, 35% of women in management roles say they're very often or always burned out, compared to 28% of men. I might even venture to guess it's a little bit higher for women. And here's the kicker. Women are also more engaged at work than men. So more engaged and more burned out at the same time. Now listen, I talk about the power of and, but this is really probably a little bit to the extreme, not what I'm talking about. So how is that even possible? Because we care. We care so deeply that we will run ourselves straight into the ground before we let our team down, our clients down, or our families down. And this is especially true in sales. Sales is one of the most cognitively demanding professions there is. You are constantly code switching. You might call it multitasking, but there is really no such thing. That can be an entirely full podcast on its own. You're managing the pipeline, managing your emotions, managing client relationships, managing expectations. Most of the time, you're also doing it while managing everything that waits for you when you get home. This is what researchers call the mental load. And it doesn't just clock out when you close your laptop. What the mental load actually is the invisible cognitive labor of tracking, planning, anticipating, and managing everything. In sales, it shows up as running that mental ticker of every open deal, every follow-up that you haven't sent, every conversation that you worry didn't land right. And at home, it might be keeping the family schedule, remembering the dentist appointments, knowing when the milk runs out, sensing when your kid is struggling. And both of these live in your head simultaneously. And your brain doesn't actually distinguish between the two. It just experiences the total load. And from a neuroscience standpoint, this matters enormously. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation, has a finite capacity. When it's overloaded with the background processing, it cannot perform at its peak for the tasks that matter most to you. So when you wonder why you can't close the deal, or why your creativity feels flat, why you think you should be doing more, it might not be a skill problem. It might be a load problem. And how does this relate to the way burnout hijacks our performance? It's the cortisol trap. Here's where I want to get a little bit more neuroscience-y with you, because I think understanding this at a brain level is genuinely life-changing. When you're operating under chronic stress, which is basically the job description for a lot of sales women, right? Your body is constantly releasing cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. In short bursts, it's useful. It helps you focus. It sharpens your senses. It gets you through a tough presentation or maybe through that final close. In fact, Mark was just saying that he thinks I thrive on that. I I think he might be right. Sometimes I like to take it right to the final day, and I'm sure my manager would prefer a little more leeway. But hey, I think right now it works. But the chronic cortisol exposure, that's where it gets messy. It shrinks your hippocampus, which affects memory and learning. It suppresses your immune system, it dysregulates your mood, and critically for salespeople, it impairs your ability to read social cues, to empathize, and to build trust. You literally cannot be the relationship builder that you are at your best when you're running on fumes and cortisol. That hustle harder, sleep when you're dead, no days off mentality isn't a badge of honor. It's actively working against you. And the CBT angle is, what story are you telling yourself? So let's talk about the mindset piece of this, because the burnout isn't just physical. A lot of it is driven by the thoughts that we're thinking. So in cognitive behavioral therapy, we look at the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And when it comes to burnout in sales, I see some really common thought patterns that come up again and again. Things like, I have to be the one available around the clock or my clients will leave, or I should be able to handle this. It looks like everybody else is doing fine. Or here's a classic, right? If I slow down, I'll fall behind and then I'll lose everything that I've built. These thoughts feel true. They feel protective, but they are cognitive distortions, specifically a mix of catastrophizing, should statements, and the all or nothing thinking. And here's what CBT teaches us. The thought creates the feeling, which drives the behavior. So if you think, I can never stop hustling, you'll most likely feel anxious every time you try to rest. And that is going to have you push through the rest until eventually your body will force you to stop. The work is to catch the thought before it runs the show. Now, let's talk about the idea of performance rewritten. What if it could actually feel good? Okay, so here is the reframe that I want to offer you. And this is the heart of what I've been teaching with performance rewritten. What if high performance didn't have to be painful? What if you could hit your numbers and feel good? What if sustainable is actually the strategy of being a top performer? Because here's what the research is showing us. Women who design careers that are sustainable over decades outperform women who burn bright and then just flame out. Long game wins. And you know I love a little woo. So from a woo perspective, your energy is your currency. You cannot call in abundance. You cannot be magnetic. You cannot show up as the best version of yourself that clients are drawn to when you are depleted. Period. The end, right? High vibe is not just a phrase that I throw around. Your energetic state is a real physiological thing. And when you are rested, regulated, and resourced, you literally emit different energy. People can feel it. It changes how they respond to you. So here are some practical shifts that you can make this week. You know I love to give you a little something to do as you head off for the rest of the week. 3 things that fall into the category of what I call maybe permission slips for high performers. Number 1, audit the mental load. Grab a piece of paper and just do a brain dump of everything that you're currently tracking. The work stuff, the home stuff, all of it. Then look at that list and ask what on this list can be delegated, automated, or maybe even dropped. Not everything can, but some things can. And releasing even 10% of that invisible weight creates real cognitive space. Number 2, create a deliberate decompression ritual. Your nervous system needs a transition out of work mode. This doesn't have to be a whole thing. It can be a simple 10-minute walk, maybe 5. Maybe it's a specific playlist that you listen to on your commute home. Maybe it's just 3 minutes of box breathing before you walk into your front door. The ritual signals to your brain, we are safe, we can downshift. And when you can downshift, you can actually recover. And number 3, challenge the thought that rest is laziness. Friends, I still challenge this thought because it is deep in there. It has been a belief, not just a thought. And we know the difference, right? A thought is just a sentence that you think, but a belief is a thought that you've thought over and over and over that it feels like it is real. This is the CBT work in real time. So the next time that you feel guilty for taking a break, I want you to write down that thought and then find 3 pieces of evidence that rest is actually productive. Think about a time maybe when you came back from vacation and you closed the deal, or maybe you had a good night's sleep and then how much sharper you felt the next day. Evidence-based thinking is the antidote to guilt-based thinking. Okay, so here's what I want to leave you with today. You are not weak for needing rest. You are not falling behind by taking care of yourself. You are a high-performing woman operating in a world that was not designed with your biology, your responsibilities, or your wholeness in mind. And the most radical thing that you can do is refuse to accept the premise that you have to run yourself into the ground to be successful. Performance rewritten is the belief, the lived experience that it can feel as good as it looks. That on the inside, things are just as good as what you see on the outside results. The sustainability is not settling. It's actually the highest level of performance there is. So this week, I invite you to do one of the things differently. Pick one of those 3 shifts that we just talked about, just one, and notice what changes. I would love to hear what comes up for you. Find me on Instagram at Michelle Burke Coaching. Drop me a DM. I genuinely love reading and hearing from all of you. Okay, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. You are in the right place. And that's what I have for you today. Let's meet back here next week. But for now, lead your life with intention because it's your time. Make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.